Wuthering Waves 2.4 might be one of my favorite gacha patches of all time.
Oh no, it's so biased.
I think Wuthering Waves 2.4 set a new standard for, honestly, gacha patches that aren't 0.0 updates. When 2.4 was first announced, a lot of people, including myself, were anticipating a patch that would deliver over the anniversary patch. It's safe to say a lot of people were disappointed with the anniversary patch. However, everyone was left blown away by the 2.4 live stream. This is what some people were branding as the real anniversary patch. This patch was filled with a new area in Septimon, a returning combat event that was arguably one of the best they've ever created with their tower mode, a new permanent combat event mode, TFT type TCG event, Gooner skins, 2 new quests, and so much more with Echo Sonata sets, 2 new characters. I mean, the list goes on. This was a stacked patch. One of the biggest reasons for the hype not only was the patch itself, but what was to come after, as Koro Games leaked 6 new characters themselves, some that leakers themselves weren't even able to find. I truly believe this is the second best Wuthering Waves patch behind 2.0. To start off with Septimon itself, the region is a pretty decent size and has a very unique feel to it, as it's heavily inspired by ancient Rome. A look we haven't seen in Wuwa yet, and they fucking nailed it. From the arena to the entrance to the city feeling alive with tons of people around, banners and posters with Lupa's face on it. Although the dense population and visual updates started killing some people's PCs with optimization issues, it still looked fucking amazing and breathtaking. The attention to detail from Kuro Games was on another level, with things as leaves moving when you start to attack, water splashing when you fly above, new filter settings allowing you to visually make the game have whatever feel you want to it. It was a fucking top tier update just from a visual standpoint. As I stated before, with this update added 2 important characters, both Cartethia and Lupa. Cartethia quite possibly being the strongest character in all of Wuthering Waves, highly anticipated ever since Geoff Keighley, however the fuck you pronounce bro's name, leaked her alt animation on Twitter and it blew up. The best part about Cardi was she was completely lived up to the hype. Cartethia has 2 forms just like she did in story. Her normal form and then Big Mommy form. Sin City was made for you. I'm so fucking sorry. The normal form would allow her to apply arrow erosion, while the mommy form would allow her to consume the arrow erosion stacks to deal damage. She could also walk in the air, so keep in mind, exploration power creep is starting to creep into the game, sadly. Be on the lookout for that. This is a character that's not only very casual friendly, depending on the teammates you have, but she could also have really high skill expression as well, depending on how much you really want to test her. With Shiakona, she allows for arrow erosion to be applied while Cardi's in Big Mommy mode, but if you're not running Shiakona, you're able to swap back and forth between both forms to apply arrow erosion in her normal form and then in Mommy form consume it, which allows for you to do a little bit of quick swap Kara cancel just on her alone. Not only that, but her second best support is completely free with Arrow Rover alongside with his 5-star weapon that is free. Overall, she was a great addition to the roster and a character that I can't recommend enough. Lupa is a fusion amplifier. The way I would describe it is she's Shorekeeper of fusion damage in terms of buffing minus the heals. And Lupa does additional damage when Shorekeeper kind of hits like a wet noodle. Lupa makes the Brant Chang Li team compositions feel smooth like butter on par with other meta teams. However, Lupa is really locked to being a fusion support unless you're some fucking weird sweaty dude like my mod who's able to just clear the game with any team comp. I don't know, bro's gonna have carpal tunnels in like 2 years. If you don't have Brant or don't really care about fusion units as a whole, Lupa is an easy skip, which is not necessarily a bad thing as well. Again, they just drip marketed 6 new characters that all look amazing, especially the man. And no, I'm not gay.
I am not gay. I have relationships with women and sex with men.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
Now for the gameplay. The gameplay elements introduced in this patch are some of the best Wuwa has to offer. They introduced the returning tower event with adding new bosses such as Cartethia, Lorelei, and even allowing you to fight 3 bosses at once, which is literal fucking chaos. I was out here fighting for my life trying to beat this on max difficulty earlier. This event allows you to make fights as hard as you want or as easy as possible by having different buffs that could be chosen. The buffs vary from increasing the max HP by 5 to 500%, and the attack by 150% of the enemy, vibration strength increase. The list goes on with the amount of buffs that they have. Bosses even have the hologram movesets, just a bit toned down on the damage side. This allows not only for a fun fight with these evolved movesets, but the extra mechanics from the modifiers sometimes make you need to adjust your playstyle. There might be a little bit of a ring surrounding the enemy that's going to drain your HP, or if the enemy just has a fucking shield that will never be depleted. Fuck you, Cartethia, I hate you. Another example would be the monkey. He'll spawn extra ads around him that can heal him, but also those other wooden poles that are surrounded by him will provide him healing as well. This makes sure you will have to do proper rotations in order to have the best damage output possible, as well as not just focus on the monkey, but beat the ads as well. We'll say as a sidebar, I think this game mode needs to be permanent as soon as possible. I want a bi-weekly or monthly reset, preferably a bi-weekly, please, for the love of God. If they were to make this permanent and allow rotating bosses with a couple rotating buffs every patch or two, just throw in a couple Asher right here, maybe 400, some Echo XP and tuners, this could possibly be the best endgame, and I think in a big 4 gacha game. This shit is just so much fun. The next big game mode that I enjoyed and has tons of potential is the Banners Never Fall game mode. Now, this game mode has certain segments of the map where you have enhanced enemies to fight, and there's a scoring and ranking system. The better you do and the more enemies you defeat, the higher your score will be. Will also unlock a bunch of passive buffs. If you try to, let's say, go to the final boss with no buffs, you're gonna get clapped. That motherfucker beat my ass. However, as you progress and you beat the enemies in the chronological order, it is a lot easier as opposed to just trying to run through everything. The game mode just adds more things for me to do instead of just mint picking and echo farming around the world. I'm able to challenge myself against some of these harder bosses. Thankfully, it is a permanent game mode, so newer players will be able to experience this at any point they get to this in the game. However, my feedback is I would love for there to be a way to reset all of the bosses, allowing me to challenge them again, as well as resetting the actual buffs I get. Sometimes, like a dumbass challenge, so maybe I want to fight the final boss of this with a Carlotta team, but I want to have none of the buffs. I want to be picture perfect. Unfortunately, you cannot do that. Also, to my understanding, if you finish this quest and talk to the NPC, all of the enemies and bosses go away forever. Now, I did not talk to the NPC again because I actually don't want this to go away because I'm having fun just randomly fighting them. But if that's true, I think that is a little bit of an L, and I would love for them to either bring this back in some sort of capacity or add this to other regions with a replayable function. Again, the more gameplay that we have, especially when it can be challenging like this, it's nothing but a positive. This event is really great, and the dev resources should be utilized more than just maybe about an hour of me going through each group and then finishing the quest and it's done. But with that being said, the event is still amazing and is another peak for me. Now, they did add a TCG game mode. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not the biggest fan of TFT. I am employed with a girlfriend. I apologize. I'm not a fucking loser, but I did play the game mode and it's actually pretty fun for what it's worth. I think overall this is a great addition to the game, and there will be that niche audience that appreciates the fuck out of this. I would love to see them expand it with more cards and bills as time goes on, which I'm sure they will. But again, adding more content for the consumers is always going to be a positive because it gives people another reason to log back in. If you're tired of fighting Lorelei and you're tired of getting your ass beat by Cartethia today, well, at least I can go play some TFT. Not me though, I have a girlfriend. I'm not a fucking loser. Now, the part that I have found to be the most enjoyable is the story. I'm gonna say this right now. I think the second half of 2.4, personally, is my favorite quest in Wuthering Waves history. Let's go over this. When you first launched 2.4, you were introduced at Septimont in obviously Koro fashion in nuclear cinema. I mean, flying over with the beautiful music, the region just looks fucking stunning. Now, I don't want to go too deep into spoiler territory, but I will be showing some cutscenes and a couple bits and pieces of the story I will be spoiling here, so if you don't want to see this part, get the fuck out of here, you piece of trash. So in the first half of the story, we get to Septimont, and off rip, we're seeing there's two different realities of the world, one perspective of Rova and one perspective of Cardi. The first quest doesn't really provide a lot of answers as to what's going on with these two different versions of Septimont, which I think is actually really great. It keeps you on your toes, and instead of just giving you the answers off rip or having some floating fucking piece of shit tell you everything, you have to figure it out, and you need to wait and see how the events unfold. We meet Lupa. God damn. Oh my god, what the heck? When we meet Lupa, we wind up fighting in a gladiator tournament to see who's gonna win the limited edition John Cena spinner belt. You bet your fucking ass I'm getting that shit before he retires. I'm calling you out. I'm talking Night of Champions, Saudi Arabia, you motherfucker. You fight alongside Lupa in the tournament with some awesome action sequences, and we finally meet Augusta. and the other one, Uno, I don't know how to pronounce her fucking name. I'm a dumb American. Now again, I want to make this very clear. I believe the first half of the 2.4 quest was really solid and giving a massive layup, but it's the second half that had me going fucking crazy. The second half of 2.4's main story quest really, to me, sets a new standard of storytelling. Quest was only about an hour and 30 minutes long, which is a bit shorter than normal, but I didn't mind that because it felt like I was just watching a movie and it was seamless. There was no filler, nothing boring about it, nothing overstayed its welcome, and you were given a lot of information, and actually, it might have been a little bit confusing at the end, but hey man, shit, it was cool. From the music to the cinematics to the visuals they provided, I mean, in dialogue between Lupa or Cardi or even Rover, there were a million cuts making it dynamic as fuck. Moving cards telling the story as the game narrates itself, to even moments before the final encounter where Lupa was walking in front of her were scenes playing as if it was a movie.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize...
One of the strong points that I enjoyed was that Lupa was actually the main star of the second half of the story. As opposed to Rover going in and fixing all of the wrongs in the world, it was left up to Lupa. A woman. I'm a feminist. That's something a non-feminist would say, but I am a feminist. Don't worry. I love women. She goes into the storybook and relives multiple time loops from previous. We learn that Maya actually offed herself in order to escape the control of the Threnodian had over her. Well, that didn't do much because this sick son of a bitch, Cristoforo, decided to dig up her dead body. Bro literally knows she stabbed herself to escape the Threnodian and said, haha, nah, little bro, not like this. The great thing about Cristoforo is, as said in this tweet, bro is an actual hater. No nuance, no tragic, no backstory, no virtue signaling, no bullshit. He's just an hater, and I love that. I love that we have a villain who's just a fucking piece of shit. Maybe one day we'll find out his true motives, but the fact that he's a scumbag fills me with joy inside. All this culminates into Lupa fighting the Threnodian in an epic battle with some amazing fucking music. Once she beats his ass, we see Scar and Cristoforo, and I'm just like, oh shit, where the dig zipper at now? Between the visuals, the interaction, the music, the storytelling, making Lupa the main character, and not having to deal with people bitching about gathering wives, it felt to me the strongest story that they have provided. And once again, as a whole, I truly believe 2.4 sets a standard of what non-.0 patches should be looking like. Important patches with great storytelling, tons of content to do, amazing character kits, and honestly, just skins for me to goon to. That being said, I love you. I'll see you in the next one.